Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. I'm your friendly watch buddy from Singapore, Sin City, and here's my assistant George. And today's video we are going to do a comparison between the Seiko SPB147 versus the Tudor Black Bay 79230. So today's video is not a straight shootout because there really isn't much of a comparison between these two watches, right? Why do I say that? Because in terms of price points, they are very different. All right, this one here retails, the Seiko retails at about 1,400 Singapore dollars, and street price is typically around 1,200 Singapore dollars now, whereas the Tudor Black Bay retails just over 5,000 Singapore dollars. I think if you smile to the sales associate at the boutiques, I think you might get a small discount if they have stock available for you. So we're doing a video to put these two watches side by side only because these two watches, they are launched and they take their design cues from heritage or vintage style kind of predecessors in their brand. So the Seiko SPB147 here is a reissue, a remake, or reiteration, reimagination of the legendary 62 Mars, which is Seiko's first professional diver. And on the other hand, the Tudor Black Bay here, it is sort of inspired from the Black Bay 57. Alright, I think there was a Tudor diver that came in the 50s, 57 or 58. So in 2012 they launched Gen 1 with the ETA based movements, and sometime in 2016 they came up with in-house movement, manufacturer movement. So both, you know, they have very similar design cues. They are vintage style inspired divers, although they're modern divers, right? They are made with modern specs such as sapphire crystals and all, reliable movements, but the overall idea behind these two watches, they are still heritage or vintage inspired. And also staying true to their heritage designs, both watches are, I would say, in the mid-size zones. I wouldn't classify these watches as big watches. This one here, the Tudor, is 41mm. This one here is 40.5mm case size. So again, you know, they're following those classic heritage design cues very closely. And if we don't talk about the pricing, they do have pretty similar movements. All right, similar in terms of both watches have in-house movements. They have about 70 or 72 hours power reserve. The movements were developed in recent years. The Tudor Black Bay has MT5602 movement. It is COSC or COX certified, so I would think this has a slight edge over the Seiko, which houses the 6R35, which is in-house, and I think it was developed and launched probably around 2 years back. So I've just zoomed in the lens a little bit so you can see the watches closely when we're talking and comparing the case design. So they have, you know, more or less the same design style. They don't have any crown guards. Lack of crown guards probably, you know, is the sign of vintage style diver these days. All right, some slight differences here. The Seiko has got a shorter lug to lug distance. This one here has 47.5 versus the Tudor, which has a longer lug to lug. Now, despite having about the same bezel size, bezel is about 40, I think. So this one here has got a longer lug to lug. All right, it's very clear here. All right, so that may, you know, affect the wearability somewhat. Alright, both watches have about the same case diameter. This is 40.5, the Seiko, and on the Tudor is 41mm. Alright, and in terms of thickness, alright, we're going to turn the watches this way. Anyway, I apologize for the protective film still on my Tudor. Okay, it didn't come off, so I thought I'll just leave it there. So in terms of case thickness, alright, the Tudor comes in at close to 15mm. I think it's about 14.8mm, and the Seiko comes in at 14mm. Alright, but I think if we rely on just specs, it can be a little bit misleading. Just take a look here, big difference. Alright, the Seiko has got a very slim mid case, very slim. Alright, so it makes the watch look as though it is much slimmer. Alright, so they've, you know, sort of worked out the problem by having a slightly more protruding case back. Alright, on the other hand, the Tudor, alright, slab side, alright, just straight palm, a slab side kind of case design, and it doesn't look like the case back is protruding out because, well, there is no need, there is no curve on the mid case. The mid case is more or less the entire case. There is no case back or anything like that. If you take a look from this angle, it does have a very tall crystal, a dome crystal, even compared to the Seiko. Alright, this one here has got a slight dome. Okay, the bezel sits proud, as is the dome crystal, but you know, on the Tudor is just even taller and higher. And the difference between the lug width probably contributed to the fact that the Seiko looks somewhat a bit smaller, because this one here, the Seiko, has got a 20mm lug width. Alright, so it probably makes the watch look a bit smaller when it comes to proportion. On the other hand here, the Tudor here has got a lug width of 22mm. Alright, again, you know, it adds more muscle, alright, to the overall look when you look at the watches straight on. And these two watches, they share very similar design cues. They have sort of a vintage or creamy look on the indices. I wouldn't call it faux patina, but I think there's a degree of, you know, cream color in the indices. So again, I think this is done in line with the heritage and vintage design style. So both these watches, they have clean and simple design cues found around the watches. One does have a dot marker. This one has mostly dot markers, the Tudor Black Bay, and the Seiko is fully chocolate bars or Kit Kat bars, and both watches, I think they do have applied indices, very nicely done. And on the Tudor, you can see a significant upgrade. Alright, I would say it's very different. If you hold these two watches, you will see that the Tudor, the application and the finishing on the dial here, the prints, I would say it's a step higher than the Seiko. I'm not saying the Seiko is rubbish. It's also very well made in its own right, but the Tudor here is just one or two notches above the Seiko. And the list of similarities, they're just endless. The prints are also done in a bronzy kind of color, not entirely rose gold. I think you know, they're done in very bronzy color, and this one here does feel a little bit more orangey, and this one here feels a little bit more like rose gold, and they just look really good. All these gilt dial kind of design cues, I think they're really nice. I just feel that there's a bit more finesse found on the dial of the Tudor, but of course you're also paying lots more money for it. And now I really have to say I'm very surprised that I actually find the Seiko has a much better bezel insert. Alright, the bezel insert here is just, I would say it's a step or two above the Tudor. Alright, surprisingly. Okay, just take a look at the texturing here. Okay, the bezel insert is stainless steel. Not too sure if there's an insert, but it is stainless steel. Okay, so it's got a really nice texturing. Okay, and the markers here, they are engraved. Alright, I run my finger around or over the indices, I can really feel the texture, and you know, it's topped off with a really nice lume pip. Okay, the lume pip here looks like it's got a, I don't know, it looks like it's got a layer of crystal over it. Okay, if not, it is done very well. It is fully concealed or protected by the triangle here. Alright, on the other hand, the Tudor, you know, take a look at the bezel insert. It looks very old school. Okay, it is aluminum, it's printed, and the lume pip looks like it is applied, and I think it is actually misaligned. Okay, so I don't know. I find it surprising that you know, they've got a nicer printing on the dial, but the bezel insert is quite a letdown on the Tudor. So now let's go on and talk about the case design and the build quality of their case. Alright, so the Seiko here has got a very nice build on the case, really nice brush finish on the mid case. There's a bevel here, and then it transits to the top of the lux. Very well done. I believe it's got dia shield coating as well, so yet another winner. Very nicely done, very nicely executed. This being a new watch, okay, you know, the texturing is just very nice here. Okay, so normally new watches, you really feel the brushing and the polishing, you know, the quality is there. You can see the quality, and the bezel is very well done. Okay, the teeth on the bezel here, the coinage is really well done. Okay, now let's take a look at the Tudor Black Bay. Okay, it is I've got one part here that is revealed. It doesn't have the protective film. Okay, so I apologize for the fingerprints. I'm gonna wipe off the prints here with the cloth, and here you can see, you know, the case side, the mid case here is fully polished. Okay, it's a scratch magnet for sure. All right, so if you wear this one daily, you know, you will see lots of fine scratches on the polished surface. Okay, there is indeed a bevel. All right, also nicely polished, I think in a different direction, and then it transits to the top of the lux, and this is done brush in the brush finish. Okay, very, very nicely done. And I would think the finish on the case itself, we're not talking about the bracelet, okay, because the other one is on a strap. So the overall finish, the quality, all right, on the Tudor, the case of the Tudor, I think again it is one or two steps above the Seiko. Okay, but it reflects on the price tags. All right, so this one here costs almost 5 times the Seiko, and of course you're getting a better product. So in terms of bezel action, let's compare the bezel action. This is a significant upgrade from the standard Seiko Pro Spec series. All right, I would say it's just about one of the best I've seen on Seiko divers. I've handled plenty of entry-level Seikos, and they've always have this sloppy bezel kind of feel to it. All right, this one here is definitely an upgrade, but when it comes to bezel action, to be honest, I've yet to come across a watch that can beat the Tudor Black Bay. Just listen to the crisp clicking. All right, it's just fantastic. It's a 60 click, but it feels very good, very well done, and I think no one is gonna be able to touch the Tudor Black Bay for bezel action. Alright, just a final word on the design and the appearance of these two watches. Alright, I love these vintage style divers. I mean, no crown guard, very good size, 41 millimeters. I think these watches, they're home run. Alright, they're winners. Okay, so in terms of looks, in terms of design, I think you wouldn't know which one to choose from. Okay, but for me, there's a main problem to Seiko. Look at the white date wheel. Look at the white date wheel. I think it is a serious problem. I really think they shouldn't have this date wheel at all. Just take a look at the Tudor. Alright, easy, no date. Alright, solves any design problem. Okay, no date. You don't need a date actually. Alright, you don't really need a date. Okay, so just take a look at how clean the design is. Alright, this is really good design. Okay, it's really well done. Okay, I love it. But this one here, I actually love the design too. But for this white date wheel, I think it's just an abomination. Okay, I can't understand why Seiko, you know, time and again, you use a pure white date wheel to destroy everything that you have done. It's really a shame. So other areas worthy of a mention would be the lack of a sign crown on the Seiko. Alright, so you can see on the Black Bay, it's got a lovely sort of engraved and painted Tudor Rose logo, and of course you've got a really nice looking aluminum bezel insert, alright, or bezel gasket. Okay, over here this is the plain Jane, and again the finishing here is you know, when you compare it to the Tudor, alright, the finishing on the crown, this one here is really smooth. Alright, at the same time you get really good grip. Very well done. Over here Still a bit rough, but I would say it's adequate for this price point. So in conclusion, these two watches, they do have sort of a similar design cue, but they're not at the same level. Alright, they're not on the same level because one is clearly a few notches up. Okay, but you do realize that you're paying a lot more for the Tudor Black Bay. Again, the difference is about 5 times. So I've also seen many videos where they compare the 147 against the BB58, which I agree would be a good choice because that one is black dial, black bezel, and also that one has got the gilt look. But you know, I happen to have a BB41, and this is like the original iteration of the Black Bay, you know, the burgundy version. So I thought it would be good to do a comparison video. So both watches here are really good looking. I would think you won't go wrong with any of the choices you make. Buy whatever you can afford. The Seiko here is very good looking. You know, it is vintage inspired, and I would say it's a really close reissue of the 62 Mars, and you know, it's got a host of modern features like dial shield coating, better movement, just, you know, really big improvement from the original 62 Mars. And you know, if not for the horrible looking white date, I think I would be very interested in purchasing one of these for myself. On the other hand, the Tudor Black Bay, of course, it's going to be a future classic for sure. Alright, so you're definitely going to pay a premium for it, over $5,000 retail price, but you are getting a very good, very well made diver watch. Again, the only complaint is its wearability. You don't get enough adjustments on the bezel, and the watch has a very thick mid case, so wearability could be a problem. If you have a big wrist, 7.5 inch, I think probably no problem at all. So in my opinion, buying the Seiko SPB147 will not scratch the itch for a higher end vintage diver. So if you're thinking of doing that, going that route, I'm just going to tell you it will not scratch the itch, and you may have to save up a bit more and get the Tudor Black Bay if you're looking to scratch the itch of owning an in-house movement watch with vintage design cues. I hope you've enjoyed the video. This is the Watch Kaki from Singapore. I'm gonna say goodbye for now. I'll see you next week together with George. Bye bye.